Hello again. Should television drama be descriptive or prescriptive? In other words, should it simply take place in the world as it is, or should it rather be nudging us towards accepting a change in the nature of society, indoctrinating us with a vision of how our country should be rather than how it actually is? Do we want merely to be entertained by thrillers and soap operas, or is it better that they are vehicles for political propaganda, persuading us to change our way of thinking and to behave differently? Of course, in nations such as Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany, it was accepted that films, drama, and fiction should all guide people towards behaving in a better way from an ideological point of view. Fiction with no higher aim other than entertainment was seen as pointless or decadent. In Britain, though, have until a few years ago felt that there is nothing wrong with sheer entertainment, whether it's novels, films, or television series. But that has been changing. Even soap operas like EastEnders contain storylines which denounce racial prejudice and set out to advance the idea of a multicultural society. I was recently persuaded by my wife to watch a series on Netflix called Hostage, and very revealing it was too. It was hugely popular when first released in August, and it stars Suran Jones as the heroine. In the description to this video, I give a link to the Wikipedia piece about it. Without delving too deeply into the plot, it can be summed up as follows. The villains are white men, army officers and NCOs who plot a military coup to take over the country because they are disgruntled at cuts in defence spending. In other words, they really are enemies of Britain, these white army types. Who saves the country from these wicked white men? Well, Suran Jones plays the part of the Prime Minister who is ousted, but a small group of loyal staff stand by her because they realise that it is up to them to save Britain from the machinations of vicious white men. Who are these loyal men and women? The Downing Street Chief of Staff is one. He's a black guy of African heritage. The Press Secretary, who is an Oriental of East Asian heritage. A political staffer who is of Indian ancestry, and some random young white guy who hardly has any lines. They are aided at a crucial moment by the Foreign Secretary, who is, of course, a black woman. There is also, incidentally, a very strong female good and loyal and men bad and conniving element here. In other words, it's also a vehicle for a feminist perspective. The Prime Minister, a Press Secretary, the political staffer, and the Foreign Secretary are all female. These are the people who save the country. The chief villains, of course, are all men. I need hardly add that the eponymous hostage is the Prime Minister's husband, who is also black. The final scene of the series shows the Prime Minister making a speech outside number 10 Downing Street. There are 7 people in this shot. The Prime Minister, who is white woman, a Press Secretary, who is East Asian, a Chief of Staff, who is black, the political staffer, who is Indian, and the young white guy. There are 2 policemen in the background, one black and the other white. In other words, only 3 white people out of 7 in that scene, and 4 members of ethnic minorities. In reality, 85% of the British population is white. In this final scene, only 40% are white. This does not reflect reality, but sets out a vision of what reality could or should be like. I suppose that I expect the BBC to play this game, and for them there is no pretense about it. But I'm mildly surprised to see that Netflix is up to the same tricks. I have speculated before that this is because expensive shows like this are made with the American market in mind, because the black community there is so much larger than that of Britain. But even if this is the explanation of what is observed, the end result is weirdly off-putting. It is like watching the kind of distorting mirror that one used to see in fairgrounds, the kind that made you look absurdly fat or strangely elongated. It shows us a country which is like our own, but with marked differences. Or perhaps a better example would be the alternate universe genre of science fiction, things like The Man in the High Castle, which show a version of the present as it might have been if the world had developed differently. Either way, it really does look odd.